Hi, welcome to tonight's reading. We're doing a night series, which is reading in the dark. It's night vision, things that we can't typically see. I think like most of my readings are all about things we can't see. And one could argue all readings are about things that we can't see. Obviously, yeah, I just playing my Jupiter bowl here. This reading is very much Jupiter influenced, but I have to show you this beautiful. I love it. I guess it's already. So yes. I figured I'd pull out my Jupiter bowl since this is a reading from Jupiter. Before I even started the reading, I was doing a meditation, and I started seeing a seven behind in my closed eyes, whatever, and 775 come online or something, and so I looked up the affirmation of 775. I give the intelligence of the universe freedom to move through my life as it chooses, honoring its loving wisdom as its grace always serves the greatest good. So that's really what this whole thing is about. I open to the healing energies of the universe and ask that my heart be granted what it most needs to become whole and flourish for the good of all. So we're going to get into what this means for us and what these cards are going to show us. So the waiting game is in reverse. And this suggests that we're coming out of the waiting game. The waiting game is, I'm getting like really big vibes of the rules of the game are changing. The rules of the game are changing. This whole game of life. 222. And we have 2. Let's look at, that's too many. That's too many. All right, we're going to look at the guidance for 222. I'm open to the higher healing purpose of my relationships, including soulmates, twin flames, and other soul connections, and welcome an inflow of healing grace. Yeah, so this ties into yesterday's reading for sure, 100%. If I had any doubts, that certainly ties it together. I connect to my higher self and experience an inflow of help, guidance, and support. So yeah, the reading yesterday was all about sensitivity. The cover card being emotional loss. This is what we feel on the surface, or emotional pain, feeling triggered possibly, but it really just ties back to a root of possibly unhealthy coping mechanisms, which is rampant throughout humanity. It's just very commonplace. So, but 333, the good thing is that we're moving out of it now. We're transitioning into a new way of being. Humanity is that's why human wayfinder. That's my path has been taking me through an accelerated evolution where I've had to go through this deconstruction down to my base elements and relearn how to live in the world again. It's intense, but it's a very shamanic path to go through transformation that way. I don't know that everyone has to go through that much of a difficult path, but I certainly did, and the things that I learned, it's very important for me to share. And I've gone through it just like everyone else. Like some people that have divine gifts for channeling and reading, they've had them since birth and had these psychic gifts online that are very easy. I don't know, relatively easy for them. For me, it's not that way. I feel very much like a regular person. Well, no, not really. I feel kind of like an alien, like maybe I didn't ever belong here. and that the way people do things is crazy to me. Like, feels like crazy pills half the time. But as far as like how I see how the world like works for me, it seems to be like everybody else. I don't know. But I've gone through this incredible transformation, and it's changed who I am and how I operate, and I'm sharing a lot of that. And so most of my readings have that flavor. So yeah, we were looking at yesterday the emotional loss, hardship, this masculine, it's really the damage. And so I'm gonna add some points that came to mind. You know, I talked about there being a feminine wounding, kind of planetary wide feminine wounding from the age that we came through, most recently, that we're coming out of, where the feminine nature was very much demonized and damaged. The masculine aspects took on great damage as well from doing this. This is why, like, it's important to have love in our hearts for even the aggressors, even the ones doing the damage, because that is very damaging to their souls. To, you know, it's a incredibly heavy karmic load to carry, and so it's about the masculine. Yesterday's reading was mostly about the masculine and feminine nature harmonizing through sharing how we really feel, the transits and climates, the sixth house of sustainability. I'm not going to go, you can go back and read it. Sensitivity being an actual gift. Or you can go back and watch that one if you want to catch up with that. But yeah, I felt like that was an important point to catch. So now, moving right along, this is a follow-on point to that. The waiting game, we're actually going through the keyhole, the eye, before you reach an up level, at the completion of a cycle, before you move up to your higher level of capacity. We all do this, whether we know it or not. We're doing this throughout our entire lives. We reach points of completion. Sometimes it follows a 7-year life cycle. Sometimes it's different. It can be much shorter. It can be much longer. But when we reach these major completion points, it's like a rite of passage. And there is a gateway, a keyhole per se, where it's much like this. It's the eye of the needle, where we have to. It's the straight and narrow path. How do we move through that? Is really it's what is required is for our emotional aspect to come back online, and let's just get into the reading. So, the waiting game. Rules of the game are changing. And I see hangman vibes for sure on this guy. And hangman is surrender. Hangman is surrender. It's a great many things, but for this reading, the thing that's coming out is surrender. And it's also retrograde, where you feel like you're moving backwards. But the backwards movement has purpose, that you're going back and looking through and experiencing. It's not just that, okay, you've been through all of these lessons and you've learned so much and you've grown so much, and then you have to go through it's like your final exam, that you go through this same challenge again. And when people are not aware that they're going through the challenge in order to test these new wisdom experiences, what you've learned, what are your preferences? Are you going to express your preferences? Are you going to enact your preferences, what you've learned that you do want out of life, as opposed to what you don't? Like, ultimately, God, the universe, divine intelligence does not judge. We get to choose. There's no right or wrong per se, but we have consequences. That's why I'm talking about like the heavy karmic load. When you take a path that is damaging other people, causing pain, causing, even if it's to yourself, there's those that cause pain to others, and there's those that cause pain to self. And it's kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum. But I feel like I'm getting off track here. I think more of that was related to that last reading, and this is more... that's just kind of the backstory of like what the whole cycle is about. So now we're at the point of the waiting game is coming to a close, and at the close of the waiting game, it's like we get turned upside down, we get uprooted, and we have to see, like, it's the above, as above, so below, where the tree, we have the tree, the light and the dark. So this is the branches that is visible. This is kind of it's a yin-yang thing. This is at night, but at any rate, the branches that are visible to the world above ground, we can all see. What's down here, we can't see. This is like subconscious territory. And also things from childhood and patterning, all that kind of stuff. So in order to see what's going on with all that, it becomes uprooted. And this can be very destabilizing. It's kind of like, how do you act when the shit hits the fan, when you lose your shit and you're just like flailing or I mean, there's like a myriad of situations. That's what the surrender point, talking about surrender for a minute here. I've had some experiences with surrender 1212 that have taught me that surrendering is something that acts upon us. Yes, we can choose to surrender, but really when we choose to surrender, we choose to submit to surrender. Like you could imagine it like a dog that submits to its master or whatever, like rolls on his back and shows his belly and like, oh, I submit. You can submit to the surrender, but the surrender is something that acts on you. And life creates this perfect storm that puts you in a state that requires you to submit to surrender. I'm going to say it that way. And that's what the hangman vibe is. That's what the hangman vibe is. It's an uprooted hangman vibe. So the waiting game comes to a close. This is the culmination of the waiting game. And being placed in the waiting game also is about temperance, patience, slowing down, so that, like, if we didn't have to look at this stuff, we wouldn't. We'd just go on with our merry lives. So life puts us in these holding patterns so that we can see what we're actually doing. We can go, it's like we've been circling this point and getting tighter and tighter on it and looking at it from all angles and like, wow, what the fuck do I need to do to move on here? Like, oh my God. So it's like that. And then there's a point of like, okay, I've done everything I possibly can. And obviously, like, I'm not getting out of this. So what do I have to do, Spirit? What do I have to do, God? What do I have to do, Divine? What do I have to do, Higher Self, Heart? However you connect to that. It's like, stop looking out here and look in your gateway, your keyhole is within your own heart. So there's, the next cards are kind of like a breadcrumb way through. Kind of like the White Rabbit, through the Looking Glass Alice, take the red pill, all that kind of stuff. Or was it the blue pill? I don't remember. Yeah, inspiration. I can't read that. Yes, your idea is divinely inspired. Take action accordingly and set it into motion. So we're gonna look to understand this point more through the visualization of the picture. So we see this one would be meant, what this one is meant to be you. And she's looking down, looking down, and the messenger from God, angel, is pointing to look up and bringing this peace, the white lily, universal symbol of peace. Peace lies within looking up. So this inspiration, look up for inspiration. It can be quite literal. There's a lot of things that we can do with our body that can, even holding that meditative pose where you look slightly up. You could lay on the ground and look at the sky. You could lay on the ground on your floor and look at something beautiful. And just bringing your attention to above instead of looking below can literally affect the workings of your mind and how you are receiving. Our mind is actually like an antenna that what thoughts, what frequencies we're aligning with, we have some conscious control over that. If we're not consciously controlling it, we can be very much pulled around by, TV, media, people around us, the greater world around us, whatever. If we're not consciously focusing on where we want our vision focused, then we're just kind of lost in this chaos, white noise of everything, and or all the directions that everybody else is going, which may not be where you want to go. And then I think it's a widely known fact that there's a lot of kind of maladapted media out there that will mess up your nervous system and kind of hijack your it's brainwashing. It's brainwashing, straight up brainwashing. So something to consider. That this to me kind of feels like meditation, like meditate up, inspiration. But at any rate, you do have great ideas coming to you. Act on them. That's the guidance. The next breadcrumb is open your heart to love. And we see this one looking quite frail and pained. And what is going on here? I'm not feeling super inspired by that artwork. The more you open your heart and pour love into your creations, the greater their life force energy. I don't know if those are supposed to be loving faces, but they don't look very loving to me. So, point being, so you receive the divine inspiration. This is the mind. And then the heart being the gateway, is the access point through which the divine spirit, infinite intelligence, provides that guiding fuel of inspiration of love, which is the substance of, it's the most powerful force in the universe. It's like supercharging this idea, to tap this divinely inspired idea into your heart and fuel it with the love, the energy of love, creator love. It's more of a pure, like prana source of just creator energy love that you can fuel your projects with. And then creative expression is the next step. God's divine creativity is expressed through your actions. So acting, once you're in this place of inspiration through mind and then aligned with your heart, express through that creatively. The creative is, in the Tao and I Ching, is an expression of God. Creativity, the creative expression, is a channel through which divinity, God, essence flows through us. It's getting the logical mind out of the way and allowing the creative mind to come online. That this is the masculine and feminine, which again, we had a lot of that in that last reading. So I feel like yesterday's reading didn't contain a lot of guidance of what to do with whatever was coming up. This is all about what to do with it. How to move through it. So whatever challenge points you were looking at from this reading, this is going to be your guidance of, if you don't have the inspiration off the top of your head, go into that place of meditation. It can be super quick. You can see like a golden light shining down. You can have a waterfall of light. You can, whatever connects you into that spiritual place of, you can imagine yourself at the beach and just having this bright sunny day and this beam of inspiration coming down through you. But that all of those visualizations and having some actual physical bodily alignment of up towards the heavens will cue that how these bodies are programmed to operate. It will cue that download. Tap it into your heart and then move through creative expression. I feel like the creative expression ties through the sacral as well, the feeling, letting your emotions power that, which that's why this sensitivity and emotion, your emotions becoming more sensitive. When they become more sensitive and you haven't learned how to process the feelings of emotional loss, that you are then blocked from being able to move fluidly through this higher sensitivity, which feels like heightened intensity of emotion. But that emotion is power. That emotion is the fuel. That's like the love. You can have almost any scale of emotion expressing through love, and it still be all of these individuated emotions on the channel of love. And when you do that, it unlocks. The healing occurs simply through that. Yeah, that's good. That's really big. That's a good point. All right, and then Jupiter. I love Jupiter. Jupiter. I'm not sure how much time. We're at 22 minutes, so. Jupiter, abundance. Woo woo. We all love abundance, don't we? It's a beautiful card. Jupiter symbolizes how we expand our world through education, law, philosophy, travel, abundance, and an expansive spirit. I'm going to go ahead and hit this Jupiter bowl. Let's have that energy. 23. Okay. Jupiter, the traditional ruler of Sagittarius and Pisces. Did I already tell y'all? I think I did. I can't remember. Yeah, this is me all the way. Is a huge gas giant. 2.5 times the volume of all the other planets put together. It takes 12 years to circle the zodiac, spending roughly 1 year in each sign. Named for the ruler of all the gods and surrounded by 79 known moons, Jupiter never does anything in small proportions. In action, which is what's being called for, we're being called to action. Our action is required to bring us out of this waiting game. Our action to experiment with the new rules of the game, which have been shared with us. You know, you're certainly not limited to this, but this tool is incredibly flexible. This is like it's a little bit of a formula, but it requires practice, and it may be frustrating with any new skill set. There's going to be a learning curve, and there's going to be some frustration as you're like, oh, well, that's not really what I meant to do. I was wanting to do this and this happened. And so you will continue this cycle repeat for some time. It's not like most people don't ace the final exam, the first go around, with these kind of things. Yes, you've been practicing for some time, but it's like you have to take all of the things that you've learned in this last cycle, which again, like I said, could be months, years, decades, possibly lifetimes. So this is not something that is just a one done deal. And also just getting it, like really putting all of your focus and intention and getting it right once and being like, oh yay, ha ha ha, I can go live my life now and yay, I did it. No, I mean, maybe, sure, maybe, but most likely it will take some concentration and focus to continue operating this way instead of the old way. It takes effort, concentration, focus, intention. And you can ask for guidance. You can ask for your team and spirit, or however you connect with things that impact you, and help you hold your space. Whatever you do, whether you take control of that yourself through conscious co-creation. I like to do meditations where I get really clear on, all right, I understand this method. I'm going to go into a state of meditation and I'm going to do this given, back and forth where I'm saying, okay, these are the steps. Feed me the energies and let's elaborate on that. And then I'll start to get this big, like, welling of energy, of emotion, of just even like the vision, and it's really exciting. And I'll speak out loud the things that come to mind. Like I'll kind of go into a channeling state and start speaking the things that I want to happen. And then, when I'm completed with that, sometimes I like to create guided meditations. I haven't been doing that in some time, because right now I'm just going through my own deep transformation where I need to just do it for me and not be distracted with the technology mess. But I do want to start creating guided meditations like that other people, I mean, mine are very specific to me, of course. And each person, whatever. I'm digressing. Getting back to this now. My eyes are getting worse. I've never needed to move the book away until more recently. Okay. Action. Think bigger. This scenario requires you to be expansive and forgiving. Deal with it in a spacious, curious. That's always the key. If you're feeling stuck in an emotion, can't seem to work your way through into the positive end, curiosity is the way through. Find that curiosity. Oh, well, what could it be? I wonder what it could possibly be. I wonder what the mind of an infinite benevolent creator God would come up with. What solution would that be? And be curious and open and receptive. Don't attempt to fill that space with what the ego mind, what your own mind would like to fill in the blank with. Open that creative space, and the universe the universe will fill a vacuum. And when this is the language of the universe, that creative, curious creativity. This is the language of the universe, that this is the channel. This is the expression of love. I don't know if that tracks logically, but yeah, whatever. Okay. Deal with it in a spacious, curious, fair, and philosophical way. Think globally. Bring in contributions from all around the world. Consider traveling physically or traveling with your senses by listening to music from a less familiar culture or tasting their food. Talk to people who grew up in a circumstance foreign to you and get their viewpoint. Diversify your perspective and that of your team to discover the missing pieces needed to make up a larger whole. Engage in abundant optimism. This is a trapping as well of the optimism and the feeling. That's why the feelings are so important. It's not just how we're doing it. It's how we feel about what we're doing. It's how we feel about how we're doing it. It is such a vicious cycle and a fucking rabbit hole, man. Like, it can just be a spiral and a trap. It's like a mental trap to get out of. So the labyrinth, I feel like labyrinth vibes from this for sure. So getting that big picture, pull back to this. I do this a lot. I find myself being inspired by other cultures. I've studied other cultures' spirituality, religion, music, anything, like whatever your interests are, to look at a global view, and just, be mindful not to take a dark lens on it. Be mindful of what sources you're using, because if you're looking at a dark lens, you're going to be operating and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's your path and that's your track and that's your place to be working, that's fine. That's great. But if you want to, I tend to, neutrality is best for me. I'm very much I'm meant to live on the line between the light and the dark and draw from both. And I've been guided very specifically, because I was for a long time in the paradigm of light only light, only positivity, blah, 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 blah. That can be damaging as well. Us versus them, fear-based crap, to befriend the dark, because there's aspects, we live in a dual universe. There's dark and light. Sure, we don't want to be friends with demons or whatever. I don't know. Maybe you do, but on some level, there's aspects of ourselves that are living in darkness now, and if we banish those aspects of us from our present being, it's like banishing them from existence. It's fragmenting yourself, and that will hold you back, and you'll continue this perpetual pendulum swing where you just can't seem to ever stay in the place that you want to be in the positive light spectrum, because you just can't, because we have to swing back and forth. So if you hold to this, you'll start getting stuck in ways that become torturous, and then when you finally unstick, you swing so far into the darkness that it's overwhelming and terrible. And I think this is really what the bipolar syndrome is all about, is this not understanding that this is a natural part of being a fucking human being. Yes, we're fucking bipolar sometimes. And a better thing to do than medicate would be to learn how these mechanisms work, and work with, this is more along the realm of highly sensitive, intuitive people need their own resources, not the industrial age modern grind method of pump them full of medication and keep them going to work. Keep them making money, keep them consumers. There's a large percentage of the population is breaking because this does not work. This does not work. It's not sustainable. It's not fucking sustainable. It's not. So, getting back to Jupiter. abundant optimism. So optimism not being of the sort that only positivity, like dogged positivity, that's not healthy. Optimism being on the lines of whatever comes to me positive has a positive effect on my long-term greatest good, highest purpose, blah 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 blah, which can be expressing in the positive or negative spectrum, understanding that a negative reaction here might be the best for my best good, and I'm going to place that meaning on it, like, okay, well, how is this helping me? What am I to learn here? This is the type of optimism that whatever happens, I'm making the most of it. I'm moving in the right direction. I know that I'm being guided. I know that I'm moving. I know that I'm growing. I know that this is going to work. I know that I'm going to get there. I know that all the universe wants for me is Jupiter gas giant levels of abundance. I fucking know that. And I'll get there no matter what. That's the type of optimism. Okay, get the word out through generosity. Give abundantly and goodwill comes back to you. I did a different version. I started this whole reading out with a meditation where I started singing, I surrender all, I surrender all to thee is freely given, I surrender all. Of course, I'm singing this song to spirit, to my team in spirit, to infinite source intelligence, to God, to the limitless substance that creates all things and provides that unlimited level of abundance, that I give all that I am to that and express through me what needs to be expressed. And so when you give yourself that freely, I give my spiritual gifts freely. Everything that I know about spirituality, I give freely. Yes, I need money to make a living, and I do have wonderings about, kind of how can I get paid for these gifts that I have, but ultimately, like, I'm not going to hold any of this back, because liberating humanity, like the shifts and the changes that we can make, like money could be obsolete before it, whatever, I don't know. I'm just saying, think bigger. This is the thinking bigger realm of Jupiter. Don't think small. Think big. Think big. Think big. And then, just opening up to that big, 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 big is going to widen your horizons, widen your perspectives, and then this inspiration that's going to come into you is going to shoot you, catapult you off. It's like the Sagittarius arrow, this pullback. This is what it's another analogy of what this waiting game is. This waiting game is the pullback of the arrow. And once you finally align yourself, you don't want this arrow to shoot until you are aligned with your highest good. If you shoot this arrow early and you go way off into fucking Neverland or wherever and have to come back from that, you're far worse off. And this is why the waiting game is in your greatest good. It's in your highest good. It's working in your favor. It's supposed to keep you arrested until you get your shit lined up with your greatest good, and then take that catapult in the right direction for where you want to go, to bring the best of you to the world and the best of the world to you through this co-creation. So the more you can tap into your drive, your true authentic nature, your true creative expression, as much of you that you can be. Don't copy anybody. Nobody else is you. You can only channel your best. You can't, this is why we're in the age of coming out of gurus. Gurus don't know what's best anymore. Yes, we can help each other. I have teachings. Someone else has teachings. This person over here has teachings, and they're not the same. They're not meant to be the same. Each person has their own little tiny piece of the puzzle in an infinite star pattern that when you express your trueness, your perfect, exactly you-ness, that it lights up the entire canvas in the most beautiful array that it can possibly be. But if we have gurus shining their light into a wider collective that is of the type that holds them on a pedestal as a kingdom, as a ruler, as a god, as a, even the word guide is becoming loaded. That holds a lot of heavy karma, because it's time to let all that go. It's time to let all that go. So just be really cautious about giving your power to those people. Self-empower. Anyone who does not empower you to know your truth more than anyone else, including them, big red flag. Keep your distance. Like, this is the age of discernment, of learning discernment. Like, it's, if you do go down that path and have, I mean, there's even some really fucked up gurus out there right now that are messing with people's head, and narcissism on steroids, on a spiritual steroid. Like, that's such bad news, because people are often called to that through their own woundings will be strong, even more strongly called and susceptible to those trappings. This is one reason that I've decided to, like, dude, if those motherfuckers are touting themselves to be bringing spiritual knowledge and they're fucking it up this bad, I couldn't possibly do it. Like, I know that I would do, like, I need to be doing this because I'm not going to fucking do this to people. I want to, like, go save them all. Like, of course I can't go save them all, but I want to go show them what, look, this is what a real empowering person to help you is. It's not my place to be like, oh, I know how to do these things and you do not, and you better listen to me. I want everyone to learn how to do these things. And I want to teach through my example of my life how I did it, and know that your path isn't going to be exactly the same, but it will show some kind of, it will, like, unlock something in you. And also just to know that it's possible. I'm just a regular fucking person, you know. I didn't start out with crazy kind of gifts or anything. All right, so yeah, all that was a big expansion on just be careful that your generosity is actually helping the recipient, not enabling or burdening them. Ask what would really help. Yeah. Okay, Jupiter's energy needs a big room and an audience. Oh, that's so funny. But it can overshadow important people in more intimate circumstances. Watch that your expansive capacity does not cramp the experimentation of beginners or crowd beloved introverts. Notice where you might overwhelm the people that you love and give them room for their more subtle style. If you're the one being so overwhelmed, appreciate your own value, expand in ways that work for you, and let the person with the Jupiter energy do their thing. 4411. Oh my gosh. In a challenge point with the Jupiter energy, Jupiter can bring too much of a good thing or leave people feeling overwhelmed. Watch out for magical thinking and a Pollyanna avoidance of problems. 100%. I've done that a lot. I feel like I'm grounding out of that for sure. That's what this last stage of this last year maybe has been about, coming out of that. Lofty. Yeah. All right, now as a gift, Jupiter as a gift. Give and you shall receive. Jupiter calls you to expand your worldview, so reach out and feel at one with the whole universe. We're going to read one more. I'm tired. My voice is starting to give out a little bit. So I'm going to look up 23 out of the affirmation book. 111 affirmations. I co-create through sacred partnerships based on mutual enhancement, affinity, and trust. That was 22. I'm supposed to do 23. Together, we generate the energy and inspiration to create positive resources which benefit the collective. This, when you align yourself to allow me to serve the greatest good of all in accordance with divine will, for the greatest good of all, that was repetitive. Allow me to serve the highest good, whatever kind of variation. When you align yourself with the greatest good of all, that is, okay, our infinite creator, the creator of all things, is benevolent and loving, and has created other beings with free will, other creator beings even possibly, that are creating possibly worlds and microcosms and macrocosms. We see this repeatability throughout the universe, throughout science, and from the large to small. Just like how the planets mirror, the circular orbits of the planets are mirrored in the neutrons and electrons of matter, that type of thing. So this microcosm, macrocosm, the repeatability of the universe. We can only assume that there's this graduation level, right? Of we are here at this level. We can create this much in our worlds, in our physical world. There are going to be aspects of us in the spiritual realm that are creating things that may be spiritual, may be material, may be energetic, and that is going to go out like this. So there is an infinite intelligence that is riding herd on the whole thing, but also respecting the free will of these creator beings that have titrated down. And so this energy that infiltrates all things, the universe, the benevolent creator love that infiltrates and permeates all things, has an agenda of how do we express what the agenda is? May all beings be blessed. May all beings have love. May all beings feel loved. May all beings be blessed. May all beings feel loved. That is the nature of the universe. And when we align ourselves to be in service to the highest good of the greatest good of all, in accordance with divine will, that's what the divine will is, for all beings to be blessed, for all beings to feel loved. Not the sticky, karmic, toxic love that humanity would put upon others, of the whole because I love you, because I have this attachment love to you, means I can treat you all sorts of ways. That is not love. That is not the energy of source creator love. The energy of source creator love is a beautiful, powerful, magnetic, healing, cohesive, blossoming. It's just the most beautiful feeling in existence, and it melts away everything else. And that's the agenda of the universe to provide for us. So when we align ourselves with that, we can pretty much guarantee that it's going to come through us. And then also anywhere that we can be used as a piece of the puzzle to enact God's will, the divine will, the creator plan, whatever. Like, don't affix yourself too much with the agendas of lower level deities or religious constructs. I mean, unless you want to, you're welcome to. If you're playing that game, if you're still experimenting with that, fine, great, good. But if you want to get off the wheel of karma, of consequence, of cause and effect, of playing out the distortions of humanity and evolution, if you want to get off of that game and move into this house of sustainable, like, ease and grace, it's like holding the wheel of fortune in your hands. And this, we could almost see this being as a feminine aspect of Source Creator. That to allow this to be within you and channel through you and be you. And how can I serve? How may I serve? What are we doing today? What are we doing today? And then just be curious and willing to act and willing to do the things, and don't let your mind get in the way too much. Yes, you are strong. You can do this. We can do this. We got this. Lots of love. Mm-hmm.